General, I appreciate the map here. It's very informative. From the map, it doesn't appear like we have ISIS contained very much. Quickly, a couple of quick questions. I'll stay within our time period. What type of planning, logistics, communications, C3I would it have taken to plan and execute the Paris attack for ISIS? It appears to me it's much more than just a lone wolf attack that we usually see from like a CVE, radicalization locally. I mean, how much logistics and planning and training did that attack, in your opinion, take?
Yeah, well, certainly it begins with somebody who's in charge, and then target selection based on reconnaissance. How much damage that do they want to incur? Certainly. There's obviously also some training involved. People have to know how to use the weapons that they have, and most significantly, I think what we saw there for the first time was the introduction of suicide vests. I mean, I think the French police will determine, how that was done, who made those bombs that turned that into a suicide vest, which is a skill set all of its own. So obviously there's a lot of planning that took place in here, and coordination. They tried to do these attacks, near simultaneous, and that's a level of detail also to do something like that. It is, as I mentioned before, very significant that they were able to maintain operational security, or OPSEC as we call it, particularly when you knew the French police and intelligence services were expecting something after 2 previous attacks.
So there was an element of command and control, training, logistics.
All of the elements of actually a much larger campaign are there in a very small way, but all in a very critical way to be able to do that. All of these people, I mean, they obviously have lives that they're trying to live as well. I would assume some of them had jobs or whatever, and they had, connections to others. And the operational security that they're maintaining and doing this very big thing, the biggest thing they're ever going to do in their life, which is going to be the end of their life. So yet they didn't. If they shared it with somebody, they also were part of the operational security. So they had a certain amount of discipline about themselves to be able to do this. A Major Hassan is one thing at Fort Hood.
And more of a lone wolf,
because he's by himself.
Local, this is
a cell that had to work together as a team. That I'm sure cell members had various functions that they had to perform and put together. A complex operation, which what this was.
It took operatives in country that were skilled, trained. Well,
I don't know where they got their training. I will leave that to the French intelligence services. I'm sure they'll get all of this at some point. It'll be revealed to us in terms, because they've captured some people. Right. I think we'll understand a lot more about it than we know today. But the basic elements had to be there for this operation to be successful.
The question I want to get to is, because of the resources it took, the command and control element, the training, the coordination, and everything. If you go back to the onset of World War II, we saw an expansion by Japan until Jimmy Doolittle went in and he bombed Tokyo, which caused the Japanese to be concerned about their own territory, and they retracted. They weren't able to link up with the Nazis. Would we see the same thing happen if we were causing ISIS to be busy defending its own territory? Would we see a retraction to where they have to realign their resources to take care of their own back home?
Well, I mean, the logic of that is compelling. I would say, yes, that's true. I mean, to do that, I think our strategy has bought time for ISIS. And I think that's why that map is revealing, in terms of that has always been there. Now they're executing it, despite the fact that we said we intended to defeat them. And the other thing is, and it's an important point to understand, the United States and the powers of the world are standing up against this organization and saying we're going to defeat it. And they're standing right there in the face of all of that and defying it, and are successfully executing their global strategy. out of defiance in the face of that. What that gets in terms of additional recruiting is significant because of this sense of invincibility that they're portraying to the world, and a sense of destiny that they have about themselves, that for people who already are having identity problems and grievance issues and a sense of isolation and wanting to do something purposeful and meaningful in their life, albeit as misguided as they are attracted to something like this. And they can communicate with it on a regular basis. They can understand what it's thinking, what it's trying to accomplish, almost daily. Every single day they put out 15 to 20 graphic photos that are very well done. This is daily, plus all the narrative that goes with what they're trying to do. And if you're plugged into ISIS or have some interest in it, you get a daily pollution of what it's about.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yield back.
Thank you.